Hey, my sisters. Welcome to our new joint podcast together called The Spiritual Void from A to Z. And of course, you know, it's really, we're asking for everyone to join us, take that first step in entering the spiritual void and, have a chit chat with Alana Banana.
And Sexy Lexi.
And Zestie Zoe.
Yes, and together we three make up the A to Z in this equation. And so do all of you, essentially. But for the sense of this is our joint podcast, we are the A to Z. So welcome to the spiritual void with us. So today, well, actually, first, I want to let you guys know about my channel, which is 3 Degrees of Love Divination. My name is, again, as I said, is Alana Banana, and of course, it's there on screen. And my standalone channel for myself, talk about tarot. I do the occasional collective readings on my channel. I started doing some pick threes, and I just put out in Easter. I think actually we all did put out Easter specials on each of our channels, but I'll let my co-host talk about theirs as soon as I wrap up here. So yeah, and what else do I have going on besides that? Well, I just, like I said, the Easter special just went up today. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
today. Today,
Yeah.
earlier today. Finally. I did record it the day before. So, anyways, um, and on actual Easter. And I also recently, and this kind of leads up to what we're going to be talking about today, but kind of also what, wow, that, okay, interesting. Uh, Kind of what we were talking about today, about what we're going to talk about today, and what inspired this was Alice in Wonderland, the story of Alice in Wonderland, with the drop of Serafina's from Rune Vervain. They're launching the Shadows of Wonderland. So this is kind of what sort of sent the piggies down the rabbit hole, if you will, to bring up our topic of Star Wars. But before we get into that, next we have the lovely, our next in the A to Z.
Her thing.
I tried that, but it wouldn't let me get on. So fingers crossed.
This is quite the chaotic first start to this. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay.
I mean, we're in the void. What can I tell you? It's apropos for what we're talking about this evening. That's all I can say. It makes for a very
Exactly.
interesting podcast.
Listen, Tappy Yappy was suspicious from the get-go. You didn't see the one eye.
Yes, the one eye. This is a Star
From the
Wars.
get-go.
This is a Star Wars theme right here.
But we're talking about you.
Okay, well, everybody, I am Sexy Lexi. I am the senior stateswoman here, and I my channel is at Alexis Milner. I do my Lexi talks every single day. My words for 2025 were consistent and authentic, and that's definitely what you get when you come to my channel. And it is not meant for children. So, just be forewarned.
Many of ours are children, actually.
Just be forewarned. But
Yep.
I'm so excited to be here with Alana and Zoe on our first endeavor and to talk about a movie that I saw before either one of these two people were even thought about in 1977. And so, that's it. I mean, I have so many things in the works, and we'll talk about that down the line, but I'm so grateful that Alana decided to share this with Zoe and myself. And, let's get it. So that's it. And this
All
is
right.
Yappy, of
Do you want to
course.
plug your channel?
I did. I said Alexis Milner and the Lexi Talks.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Maybe I was following a piggy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I talked about it, but I did not introduce Yappy. Yappy is here, happy Yappy, lappy Yappy, whatever we're going to call her on the spiritual void. But this is Yappy, and she's always with me. So she's my spiritual cohort here in the spiritual void. So
Hmm.
there you have it.
And last but certainly not least.
Hi, I'm Zestie Zoe, and I'm the Z from in the spiritual void from A to Z. And my channel is honestly just little things that I like because I kind of have kind of an eclectic collection of things that I like and things that I want to share. And really, I just want to share like my opinions on things and uh different topics that I'm interested in. So I'm getting into tarot a little bit. I like I like chill stuff. So I like to color, so I share that. And just any little hobbies I pick up, I like to share and talk about. So that's what my channel is about. So I'm excited to come here and kind of put my 2 cents into all the different topics we're going to be exploring.
If I may, that I was actually, I don't know actually, did you mention it to her or not? What I told you about the possible next topics?
No,
Uh,
we didn't talk. Oh, me or Zoe?
Yeah. No,
No,
if you told Zoe, because I know I didn't tell her.
right. No, I didn't because I figured we'd talk about it here. So yeah, I didn't mention anything. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
let's talk about our future topics.
So, your last video, your latest video that you had put out, um, oh no, it wasn't. Actually, it was a month ago. Ah, that's right. It was a month ago video that you put out that I didn't get to see until recently because for some reason I did the bell wasn't clicked, so I wasn't getting notified for your videos. And
Okay.
then and it was the technically the ghost story that
oh,
you
yeah,
talked
yeah.
about. And so I figured that would be one of our next topics to talk about here in the spiritual void.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, our whether our
Hmm. Hmm.
personal or with personal stories in regards to things like that, or whether we know or heard somebody, you know,
Hmm.
this is
Yeah.
what we're
Yes.
gonna talk about it, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
yeah. So Zoe has been inspiring this journey through the voice
Yes.
from the get-go
And yes. Yes.
with May 4th, and then now ghost
That's right.
stories. Okay,
Right. Yes. And I
you
forgot
go
to
there,
say,
Miss
you
Z.
know, yes, Miss Z, I think we all forgot to say, May the fourth be with you. That's the whole point of this
Oh,
whole
yes. May the
Exactly,
fourth
podcast.
be
because
with
it's
you.
it's premiering on May 4th. So
Yes.
yes. And
Yes.
of course it's gonna be a premiere. So this is a first gonna, like it's a tape video.
Yes.
But it will be premiered on May 4th. And we hope that you'll join us up in the chat, and we'll
Mhm.
hopefully all of us will be there. For our
Yes.
first debut. And then, oh, and look, it's 10:10 as I say that. And hope that you will, return on back for episode number 2 and so on and so forth as we journey through this void
Yes.
together, this
Yes.
spiritual void together, because we're all
Yes.
in it together, right?
Yes, we are.
So, and that's what I want it to be, one big happy family, because that's exactly essentially what we are, right?
Hmm.
So, when you really pull yourself out from being in your one zone and really zoom out like you were out in literally space, the void, you will
Right.
see that we're really actually
Yes.
one. So,
Yes.
um, with all that being said, our topic today is da, 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 Star Wars. Well, of course, because May the 4th be with you. Woo-hoo.
Yes.
So, kind of where, what, spiked um, with Zoe speaking her May the 4th be with you. And then, my idea of why to call this the spiritual void in the first place, it just seemed very fitting to talk about one, a production of movie, because, the whole idea of art imitates life and life imitates art. And when we think about spirituality as a whole, divination, all of that stuff, we combine that with creativity. It's what inspires us, what and you tend to see that there's a commonality
Hmm.
amongst many, regardless of where you've come from, because right, like, look how many people are huge fans of a movie franchise known as Star Wars, and look how far it's gone back. Like, even, our mama here has said it very well, a movie made long before
Right.
we
Way
were
before
even
you
here.
were even here.
Yes.
Right.
And yet it's a movie that is connecting how many
Yes.
generations together?
Right. Right. We've got
And
three
then imagine
Yes.
how
generations.
many more people again.
Yes. Yes.
The thing that the couple of synchronicities that sort of came up for me that I saw, and I was telling Lexi about this. Um and it was just after we had set the date, and we came to a consensus that this was something a project we wanted to do together, and see where it goes and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And no sooner there's a tarot reader that is big on YouTube, who also, that I happen to follow myself, and on Instagram. And he does comparison videos, Rich Lop, and I will plug him in, here
Mhm.
as well. And he was doing, I guess it was a comparison video, like, like they do on TikToks and stuff, talking about big movie franchise. Like, I think the TikTok that he was comparing or whatever, shouting out, um, or tagging, gotta
Mhm.
got get with the today's lingo, just trying to remember the correct word,
Right.
right? But it was about movie franchises that is seems to be the masses, but then, are you a really fan because you're a fan, or are you just a follow fashion kind of thing, right? And what is the understanding? And I remember thinking to myself, and then of course Rich had his own, 2 cents that he put in with it. And I remember thinking, like, because it was food for thought, because I was trying to think of movies that were, but I was never that type of person to like jump on a bandwagon per se. And if I did get into something that was popular, it was usually after the hype, right?
Mhm.
It's
Hmm.
Mhm.
long, long gone before I venture
Right.
down that pathway. So anyway, and I think that's kind of what Star Wars was for me too. So, but yeah, but so he was saying that, like, yeah, like, what's up with Star Wars? And I was like, huh? Wait a second. Bah humbug, because like how many you've offended, and how many big fans of Star Wars you
Right.
just offended with that one statement? Like, but I mean, yeah, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? Like this, I'm
Right.
still taking this all in happy stride and stuff like that. But like I had to say, like, like bah humbug. Like, listen, if your imagination cannot wrap around itself around a movie like Star Wars,
Right.
then then there's no message in there for you. Move along. Go on to the next movie and go
Right.
find
Right.
your love and leave us fans to be like
Right.
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 So anyways, and then it got me
Yeah.
thinking, because again, I kind of started this thing on my channel um with the idea of and I know I'm rambling, I'm sorry. But yeah, the PG um the, with the idea of well, of course, the whole rabbit hole start of this is a whole
Mhm.
spirituality split, right? And anyone who knows me knows that, and I think we share that consensus that as much as we've grown up within Christianity and
Mhm.
things like that, and I think this all ties in with the fact that it's Easter, like we're actually filming
Yes.
this Easter Monday, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some more hooks and synchronicities that like my brain is just like firing off, like, oh,
Right.
don't forget about that and that and that. Calm down, guys, because it's one
Right.
person, one mouth, and there's other people that have to speak. So, anyways, just get this out quick. Um, what was I saying? Nah, I totally distracted myself. I mean,
Well,
oh yeah,
basically,
arts and movies and
yes.
yeah, arts and
Mhm.
spirituality, and okay, and that's where all the connect the dots down this rabbit hole to Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And and so we're like, yeah, let's watch the very first movie, because I feel like there's a lot of messages, like, and I've been going down this rabbit hole for a while, connecting movies to like relatable things,
Mhm. Mhm.
and doing that deep dive and introspection to what it all means, kind of thing. And there's a
Right.
lot of movies, even from my childhood, that I've gone back and watched, and I'm like, there was a deeper message in there. Didn't notice. Now I'm noticing, and it's like, woo. So, yeah. And so this is where we got started. And so we decided to watch Star Wars and to compare
Mhm.
our interpretations and understandings, considering that we all have interest in the movie, and have been, pretty much big fans growing up.
Yes.
It's it's something that's etched in our timeline, woven into our
Mhm.
timeline,
Mhm.
quite, our perceptions and perspectives of the movie can be comparatively different, but also still connect in enough to see what the greater message
Mhm.
is. So yeah, so like let's break down what exactly the movie, what is the main premise of the movie. And I need to shush now. So I'll let you guys start that before, like, yeah.
Okay, well,
What did you guys gather was the premise of the movie? Well, and this is also
Well,
considering did you guys watch it together or separate?
yes, we did.
yes.
We
Okay.
It
watched
was
it
my
together.
first time ever seeing it.
Mhm.
Oh,
Because
Mhm.
I had never seen any of the Star Wars before or anything.
okay.
Because it's not that I wasn't interested in it, but it's something that like I've never really watched a lot of anything, like about space, whether it be fiction or nonfiction. It just wasn't a topic that I super was exposed to or anything. Um, so yeah, the main thing I got from it was like basically I think it's the most obvious thing to get from it is good versus evil.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And the
Mhm.
100%
constant like
agreed.
back and forth of good versus evil.
Mhm.
Like there will essentially always be good versus evil
Basically.
because as you can see there's like 100 of those movies, so it keeps happening. Spoiler alert if you also haven't seen many of them, it keeps happening because there's like 100 of these films. So there's
And
always the
even there's
constant
even
battle of good versus evil and like
Mhm.
fighting for a common, well, in this one, they have to save Princess Leia. And wait, what are the two ships again? There's the Millennium Falcon
Mhm.
and the what is the other one?
The
the
what's this
Enterprise.
the Enterprise, right? Is that where Darth Vader and those are?
Now I don't I don't remember. I know,
Okay,
and
let's see.
and this is what's great because especially if we're in the chat, whoever is like hardcore fans will
They'll
definitely
be
be able to
screaming at
jump in and
us.
fill in the gaps, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So
Exactly.
yes, um, but yeah, I think yes, I think it was the
Okay,
Enterprise
so
is
we
where
have the
Darth Vader
Royal.
invades.
Yes, there's the Royal Starship. So we have the Royal Starship, which is where I guess maybe was the Royal Starship where Leia was? I'm wondering that because we have, of course, the Millennium Falcon is, our heroes coming to the rescue
Yeah.
on the Millennium Falcon.
I
And
forget the
let's
name
see,
of where we started out at though. And they said it like a bunch of times, and for the life of
they
me, I can't
did.
remember the name.
Yeah, because I think I was now concentrating on the deeper message as opposed to the like
Right,
right.
right.
Mhm.
So the little details I didn't quite 100% click on to like for my memory, but and I'm not like I wouldn't say that I was like a hardcore diehard Star Wars fan. Like I don't think I've ever really been that kind of fan for anything, like that kind of way, sort of.
Mhm.
But yeah, but for yeah, like I mean, the
Well, I
premise
guess it
is
was right. We had the superstar ship, this destroyer, which was the executor, I guess, which was Darth Vader's whole ship, well, the big old compound where, you know, Luke and Han Solo and those went in fighting and whatnot. So I'm assuming that's it. There's so many.
like like we'll have to like I'd have to go back and like play the movie, or like
Yes,
Mhm.
have it like watching like right at the
yes,
time,
yes.
because
Mhm.
my brain and the piggies all want to go down a certain set of rabbit holes, but then you're trying to get
Right,
me to go into superficial details, and it's like no, I didn't clock all of
right. Because I
those, so
think
this.
right, right.
Mhm.
Because basically, we have the fighters are his fighters are like they're called the TIE fighters or whatever, which is the ship that has the two little things on the ends, and it's like a
Mhm.
little round ball in the middle. So those are the little fighter ships. But yeah, I mean, essentially, Darth Vader's ship was the evil ship. Leia's place was the heroes. We'll just go with that.
Mhm.
Any Star Wars fans out here watching are cringing at this point, but that's okay. This is our perception, so that's okay.
Yeah.
So yes, Zoe. So you were saying the good and evil, which that's what, of course, you take from it. Me watching this movie, I've seen it so many times. Never thought about anything spiritual in this movie whatsoever. But the, now that you mention it, yes, of course it is. It's the fight between good and evil. We have Darth Vader, who was a good person way back when, and
Hmm.
then went to the dark side.
Hmm.
So, and then we have, Leia and Luke and Hans trying to fight. They're trying to fight. They're the resistance. So we're trying to fight and get, um, I guess Darth Vader is trying to take over. So, and the spirit, I mean, for me, the spiritual void in that, basically, like you said, Zoe, is just between, it's the good and evil and the fight that is constant from way, way in the galaxy to here, 2025, is there's always that push and pull and a fight between good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Always is,
Oh, I kind of
you
have
know.
something else to say, but just before I forget, I just realized kind of a connection. Now, this is very loosely based, obviously, because, like I said, this is the first time I've seen this movie. And I can't really compare it toe to toe because I'd have to watch the other movie that I'm thinking of right now. But it almost is kind of giving, like I said, very loosely. No one in the comments attack me with your pitchforks or anything. The Ten Commandments. It's kind of giving, I don't know,
Ah,
like a Darth Vader kind of gives like Pharaoh vibes a little bit.
yes, that is
Yes.
such a good analogy.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes. Okay. You have just
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
These are
I just
going
randomly
wild.
thought of that. I just randomly thought of that actually. But I was
These
like,
are
he
going
kind of gives
wild.
those kind of vibes to me if we're truly trying to think about it in a spiritual kind of way. And also it's fitting because I just remember that because it's Easter and that's our favorite movie and we didn't watch it this year.
We did not. And I saw it the other day and I'm like, oh, we need to watch the Ten Commandments. It just went right out of my head.
And
Also,
also it
because,
kind of makes you think of the Bible, Adam and Eve, he was good and
yes,
then I mean
yes.
biting the apples, being like enticed by the evil side and like want the dark side and going over to that.
Wow. Yes. Okay. So you want to know? I was trying to, and now, okay. So many things are happening right now for me. I think I have an eyelash stuck in my eye, but also I'm trying to speak, and then I was trying to say, like, I was looking up what because I was curious one day and I did Google what George Lucas, the creator, had to say about the story, like what the story, like what it all means, like what
Yes.
was
Mhm.
inspiration. And because I've been so distracted between all what we're doing here, I still didn't quite catch to find what he says, but I'm trying to look it up. So just give me a second. But like keep talking.
So yeah, I agree with Zoe on the dark and evil of everything, because we have these young people who are ready to fight against the oppression, or the oppressor, and which is Darth Vader and his team, and the Senate, or him trying to take over the Senate or the Congress, so to speak.
Mhm.
Which really, I mean, this is not a political channel by any means, but what do we have going
Kind of
on right
reflects
now?
real life, what's happening
Yes,
right
it,
now.
it reflects real life. It reflects what's happening here in the United States right now. We kind of
Yeah.
have our own Darth Vader at the moment. So
Oh my.
it's, there's a lot of semblance there. There's a lot of semblance there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here is what George Lucas, according to AI overview on Google, according to him that it reports. that what George Lucas had to say is that the story is fundamentally about compassion and loving people, exploring themes of heroism, friendship, and the importance of balance between good and evil.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just what we were talking about.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
before it's funny because as you said that about the Ten Commandments, and I didn't think about that. Like that movie to compare it to that movie. Um, what I did think of comparing it to, what wasn't spiritually speaking, um, is the so I remember, I think I was telling you, Lexi, about it. Um, to go watch the Testament of Moses. It's a mini series on
Yes.
docu-series on
Yes.
Netflix. And it's a story about the fall of Pharaoh. And then it kind of sort of, yeah, so that was where my brain sort of went on to compare, spiritually speaking, right, is the
Right.
fall of Pharaoh with the fight, yeah, with Darth Vader, with that being Darth Vader, kind of something, right? And
Mhm.
Princess Leia and Luke and all of that are part of the rebellion fighting against the evil,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So yeah, so that's where right, so that's kind of, but the fact that you said that, going as far, even as far back to the Ten Commandments, like, huh. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Mhm.
And I was also thinking, but this was something, the movie that I was comparing it to, that's actually because, okay, because Star Wars is a franchise that started in 1977, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
more recently, what where my brain was like comparing a more recent franchise to is the
Mhm.
Hunger Games.
Oh,
Right.
Having that sort of
yeah.
same sort of premise, you know, fight against the rebellion, fighting against the, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and seeing, so that kind of sort of leads into, I think, um, what was, who or what is the empire, and how does it translate for us today?
Right.
And
And
that was the what when that came up for me, the thought was that the empire is the government. It's you know, the
Yeah.
yes,
higher ups, right? Rich
100%.
versus poor,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. It does. And because the Star Wars, if we did the analogy like you all are saying, Hunger Games, which I've never seen the Hunger Games, so that would be something that you and
Oh,
Zoe
I've
really,
seen the first one
yeah, Zoe saw the first one.
vaguely.
That you and Zoe
But I
can,
went to
I'm
movies to
gonna
go
write that
see it
down.
actually.
We're gonna tackle the Hunger Games on for,
But that I know what you're saying because
but
in that
yeah,
there's the capital and the
hmm
snow guy would be
yep.
Darth Vader, and then yeah,
And what's the capital? What would be your capital equivalent in Star Wars?
well, the Star Wars
the
capital will, of
what is
course,
it called?
be,
The Death Star or something?
yes,
Well,
yes.
yeah,
In
but the Empire.
the
The
yeah,
empire, yeah,
the
the
Empire.
empire,
Yeah.
right. The omnipresence of the empire. I mean, the
Yeah,
force, you know,
yeah.
it's like that divine power is the force, you know, basically. So, yeah, yeah.
Which leads into, yeah, well, what is the Force? Now, the question is, who possesses the Force?
That's a good question.
Who do you recognize in the Force possesses the Force in Star Wars? Who did you notice?
Obi-Wan, and he teaches uh Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
And
like,
who else? Did
Well,
you notice
the
anyone else?
well, of course, Luke would be the next. Luke is the person because Luke is like the.
Who else? Who else
Uh,
possessed the Force?
well, the one who possessed the Force, basically, the beginning of the Force is Darth Vader because he came from the
yeah,
Force.
he had it too.
You know, Darth
Yeah.
Vader came from the Force and went into the dark side. He was the whole Force, and him and Obi-Wan were together. You know, they were
Yeah.
compadres. They were partners until Darth Vader
And
sold his soul.
that's how you can compare it to the Ten Commandments, because that's like
Yes.
Moses and Pharaoh
Yes.
together, and then Pharaoh goes on to kind of be like he wants to be this over ruler and everything, and Moses is like, no, we need to be together with the rest of the people. Like, it shouldn't just be
Right.
one ruler. And he's like, no, we rule because we're the royals or whatever, and the Hebrews are the poor people, and they have to listen to us
Yes.
and do what we say and everything. And Moses is like, no, that's not right.
Right. Exactly.
Isn't that just like all of society? Isn't that like humanity just
Literally.
to explain exactly our existence?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
And you notice just like how, because if the fact that we can compare a movie from 1977
Mhm.
and have a comparative newer franchise comparatively with the same sort of story arch, The
Right.
Hunger Games, which is
Mhm.
also a book, right? So it's also
Yeah.
Yes.
literature that's connecting
Hmm.
the arts. You see how it's all connected? You
Yeah.
see how we're all connected?
Yes, we are.
Mhm.
We all are. We're all unique beings, but we are all connected.
Mhm.
So where
You know,
does
we
this
are all connected.
separation come from between Christianity and Buddhism and this, that, and da, right? It's
Yeah.
The
right.
same overarching theme of belief in something higher, but it's like,
Yes.
no, there's this way, and then no, there's this way, and no, there's this way. We're all basically doing the same thing, though.
So then why
Right.
the divide, especially in Christianity?
Yeah.
Especially,
Yeah.
I would say
It's yeah.
Christianity is probably the most chopped up of
Right.
Yeah.
them
Right.
all.
Right. Yeah, because we all have come here to this place. We have this creator, whoever we align ourselves with is who, you know, is who we believe in. And for us, for all of us, that's somebody different. You know, just like in the Ten Commandments, like Zoe said, you know, when Moses parts the Red Sea and everybody goes over, and then they're making their golden cow, and they're doing this and they're doing
Yeah.
this. But we have one creator here, you know, but we're worshiping all these other things. So that's really, and you know what I'm getting ready to say. This is a whole that's a whole other Oprah show. That's a whole other Oprah
Listen,
show.
Yeah.
that's a next episode on the spiritual void, bro.
That's a whole other Oprah show. But you know, we are all
Probably
brought up,
several episodes.
yes, several,
Over the
several.
Spotify episodes.
Right, right. So, you know, but we're all one. We all believe in a higher power. Not all of us, some people don't, you know, and that's
Yeah.
their right. But for the
So
most part, we all believe in a higher power. We all believe in a creator or someone that we
Yeah.
align ourselves with that is bringing us all together, so to speak,
mhm.
even though it seems like we're separating, you know, we're
You know what?
separating.
You know what does that? Trauma,
This
pain.
is true.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
From the minute when you it's like, I'm good. Yeah, I just born like a baby. Ooh, look at me. Okay, now as I get older and I realize, ooh, my hand on the fight
Right.
slowly, slowly goes to
Right. Right.
your heart, and then everybody just
Yeah. Everybody's just closed off and everybody's just doing their own thing.
robotic. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
the matrix.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
We forget that we are connected because we close all of this. Mm. And no, that's no wonder why we've got a global mental health crisis going on.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
going on. There are a lot of things
Yeah.
going on.
There's
You
a
know,
piggy
so
that want to say
many.
that's why you only have orange.
Right, but that's
Yeah.
not what this podcast is about, Alana. That's not what we're about here. So that, yeah, we, because we don't, everybody has their right and their belief. Some people align themselves with that person, some people don't. So,
Mhm.
we all have choices. Just
Right.
like in Star Wars, the difference between good and evil. Darth Vader had a choice. He was good, but he went to the dark side. Leia, Hans,
Mhm.
and Luke, Obi-Wan, they had the choice as the rebels to try and get things back in order and get the
The leader,
semblance back.
right? Of
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So,
this
and
uprising, this uplifting,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we can go
Mm-hmm.
into symbolism because, like, even if we were to talk about, so who are the main characters, right? Like, we have Princess Leia, we
Yes.
have what, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. Well, he's
Mm-hmm.
we've been talking about him already, long time. Um,
Right.
um, we said Obi-Wan. Did I say Obi-Wan already?
Yeah, we have Obi-Wan
Mhm.
Kenobi. Yes.
Han Solo.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
Han Solo is just, you know what? He's just in it for this. He
Oh
will
yeah, he's
go
only in
just
it
for
for the money.
money,
Yeah.
right?
Right. He's only in it for the money.
Right? Oh,
He's right.
yeah.
Right.
So he's not really it's like neither here nor there for him kind of thing, except if he can get paid. Okay.
Right.
So we do have those kinds of people in society too, though, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yes. Yes.
you know what other movie I was thinking can be comparative to this? A more recent. Well, this one stars Ryan Reynolds. Um, oh my God! All of us. Why? The
Barbie?
no. That
No,
Ryan,
the
not
one,
Ryan
what,
Gosling.
the Deadpool?
Ryan
Oh,
Reynolds.
Are we talking
they
about
all have the same
Deadpool?
name and look alike to me.
They do.
I mean,
They
they
do.
don't, but they do.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Oh,
know,
wait,
because
the Deadpool guy? Is that who we're talking about? Is that it?
are you talking about Deadpool?
No, no, no,
No,
Okay.
not
that's the guy
Ryan.
who's in Deadpool. I now
Yes.
realize who you're talking about.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
talking about
no, but that's not who
Blake
oh my
Lively's
God. All of
husband.
a sudden, I love this movie too. Um,
I can guarantee you it's something I have never seen because I could give
And
it's a
a
probably
newer
something I
rat's
have
it's a
also
newer
not
yeah.
seen.
movie.
I could give a rat's flying you know what about Ryan Reynolds. So
Free Guy,
I'm
Free
sure I
Guy,
haven't seen it.
Free
What's it
Guy,
called?
Free Guy.
Okay, never seen it, never heard of it. So
I've
what
never
So
heard
so
of
it
what's
that.
that about?
it came out in 2021.
Oh.
But you know what? How I translate that movie to be? It's like a person breaking out of
Oh,
the
I think I
matrix.
know.
Someone
Yes, is
breaking out of the matrix and understanding this
yes,
whole shit's a game, right? Like
right. Okay, I do. I think you know too, Zoe. We've seen the trailer to this movie a lot where there's somebody else who's he's like inside of a game. He's like locked in a game in like a
kind of
video
like
game.
comparative to the Truman Show.
Oh. Oh,
Right,
okay.
right. He's kind of locked
Because
up
you know the
in
show.
Zoe does not.
No,
No.
Zoe, I figured Zoe wouldn't, but I know
No,
you
I
do.
do know the Truman Show, yes.
But it's very
Hmm.
similar in that sense, right?
Right, right,
You see
right.
how like everything, like we just life, the storylines of movies, everything just keeps repeating. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
same thing. How are we not more and more people need to catch on. We're repeating the same thing. And we're telling ourselves that in the movies, the things
Hmm.
we absorb.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
through art form. Because art
Right,
imitates
right.
life and life imitates art.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Always, always does.
You know where I started to put the dots together for like, because the I know we're talking about Star Wars and I kind of go off top, but it's like everything just wants to come out at once. But where I realized I was going through a spiritual awakening because I was realizing as I was watching these movies, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're telling me that's why I always dream that I'm a detective working under Olivia Benson? Well, I mean, I know it because I watch Law and Order, but
Right.
why am I always like somewhere in the dream doing something a lot? But it's like I'm my own person and now then I started to put it together. It's like repeating this, it's understanding. So somewhere along the line, in maybe the ethers, whatever, learning more and more about my origins and myself and how I connect to the earth and
Mm-hmm,
yada
mm-hmm.
yada,
Mhm.
right? I
Right,
realize, oh, so I'm part of the rebellion. Oh,
right,
so if I was to put myself in Star Wars, I'm Princess Leia. I'm a
right,
Princess Leia.
right.
Yes.
Exactly.
So in all
That's
these dreams,
who,
you
yeah.
like these movies. Do you ever like when you connect to the things that you like put together, like the art forms and the
Mhm.
things that you like and stuff like that? Have you ever put together to what that all means? Like, why are you a Star Wars fan? For example, what is it about Star Wars that really wraps you in to be a true fan of Star Wars and why? There must
Yeah.
be a reason. Something about it in the subliminal messages, if you will, of the art form is speaking to you on a level that is
Mm-hmm.
somehow bubbling your molecules to like create the dopamine to be like, this is joy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me in the initial watching it, when I watched that with Zoe, I remembered everything so like it was yesterday, like it was the first time I watched it when I was 13 years old. And which was it was exciting at that time. And it was a great movie. I've loved that movie. Now, to say 60-year-old me, almost 61-year-old me, would I consider myself now a Star Wars fan? Absolutely not. But I loved that movie as a child. And I loved, like you said, your Princess Leia. That would be the character that I would choose for myself as well, because she's fighting, against the evil and trying to bring the community together and getting rid of the evil and doing something good and bringing her community together and fighting for her community. So that's what I loved about it. I loved her character. I loved all the characters, really. I loved Obi-Wan, how wise he was and the knowledge that he had and the calmness that he had. And I love, of course, we haven't gotten into anything further, but The Empire Strikes Back is probably my favorite of the whole series. I love that. I love Yoda. I love the teacher in Yoda and how Yoda is very um basic. I mean, Yoda's just like do or don't, try, don't try, just do. It's just so I love those little analogies and little things that go. So as I think about it now, that would be what I would align myself with. But in the very beginning of Star Wars, which I never knew that the first one was called whatever it's called now, because I just know it's Star Wars, and then there's The Empire Strikes Back, and then there's whatever with the little
There's
Ewoks and
episode
all that kind
three,
of thing.
two,
Right. And
one.
now it's just
And
it's
the
so
very first
involved.
one, sorry, the very first one, 1977, is known as episode four, apparently,
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's
which is
why we
actually the
kept
very
saying,
first created.
yeah, they're
Yes.
like out of order
Yes. Yes.
in that kind of
Mhm.
way.
Right.
But it's a
And
puzzle
then
game. It's a puzzle game.
Well, it is because we go back when we go to Andor and all that. I mean, we're going back to before when Darth Vader was young and before Luke was born and before Darth Vader was evil and all that kind of thing. So, I mean, we could go on and on with this whole thing, but Leia to
Sorry,
me.
but just not to cut you, but I wanted to ask you a
Mhm.
question just before the thought runs off. Um, is because I noticed you said you were a huge fan, like when as a kid, like
Yes.
growing up, because it's
Hmm.
part of your childhood,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
see, but now, would you consider yourself a fan of it? No. Now I want to know. I'm curious to know why. Have you ever thought to ask yourself why that is?
Well, basically, I'm not somebody who's I'm not a sci-fi person. That's like not my thing. I loved it as a child because that is what was going on at the time in 1977. We're now in 2025. We have so many new installments of this movie now. I've seen one of them. Zoe and I have. I don't think she remembers it. She probably wasn't paying attention to it. We did see the one where we have I don't even know the characters' names. We have Ren and we have the different characters. We have Princess Leia's
Oh,
daughter
I
and all
remember
that
that
kind of
one.
thing.
I remember that one. I remember
Yes.
that one.
Which one?
Yes. I don't know I don't know the name of it. I couldn't. I should have did better homework for this, but I don't know the name of
No,
which
no,
one.
no. But
That's the one where Leia comes in on the end, and I just bawled my eyes out. I'm like, oh my god, this was after she passed, and she was in the end. It was kind of like a secret because we didn't know she was going to be in this movie, and then she's in the end of the movie. This is when we kill Han Solo dies, I believe,
this
and
is a Star Wars movie, you mean?
yes, this is
Oh,
a
you're
Star Wars
talking
movie.
about a newer Star Wars
Yes, a
movie. Oh,
newer
no, no,
Star
no. When
Wars
I
movie.
said compare, like even comparing
Hmm.
it to, because you said you wouldn't be a
Hmm.
Star Wars fan today.
No,
I,
today
I'm
as
even
a
asking, like, because even with the story arch, is there
right.
any other movie you would consider that is relatable with the same sort of story arch that maybe you are a fan of today that you feel has a comparable storyline?
That's a really good question, Alana. I'm
Oh,
not really sure. What do you think, Zoe?
Twilight.
Oh, well, yeah, she's going to say Twilight because that's her thing. She loved Twilight.
I love Twilight.
And I think for
Yes.
me, I think for me, the newer ones since I started watching would be, yeah, would be what I said, Hunger Games.
Okay, right. Which is
Right?
not my genre at all.
Yeah.
I'm definitely Hunger Games is not it for me. But for me, I don't know what could I feel like in my universe, in my world, there's nothing that compares to Star Wars, and especially the first three. There's nothing that compares to that. To me, that was it. That was everything. And I love that. But what I'm saying, let me just say, I'm going to rephrase. I do love Star Wars. That Star Wars of my childhood and the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, that to
Mhm.
me is everything. That's everything. That broke the mold. We didn't need 5,000 different Star Wars right now. We didn't need the rest of what's going on now. I can do without that. I love it. Luke, I'm your father. All of that. That's what I
Got you. I got you. I got you. So basically, what you're
love.
saying is you get the story, you know the story arch. You don't need any more of the same.
No, absolutely not. I don't need any more.
It's
I
the,
love
like
that story. It's like you know what? If it was a TV show, it would be the Mod Squad. That's what it would remind me of. It would be the Mod Squad. We have Julie, Lincoln, Pete, which would be Leia, Hans, and Luke. And that's the comparison that I can make. And you and Zoe know nothing
if
about the
you were
Mod
talking about the
Squad.
character story, maybe even.
Yes, the character story.
Okay,
Yeah,
now if we're jumping into
nothing.
character
The
storyline.
show itself, but the character story. We have, of course, it's good versus evil. Link, Julie, and Pete were all recruited to be detectives and fight. Good, getting all the evil drug people, all of that off the streets. Where we have Hans, Luke, and Leia fighting the resistance. It's the same. It's
You
we've
realize
got.
that that also goes for Charlie's Angels. That
Well, it
goes
does.
for
Right.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does. It does. But I'm saying Charlie's Angels is three women. I'm talking about a woman and two men, and that would be the Mod Squad. So
Oh,
yeah, not
okay, yeah,
Charlie's
yeah.
Angels. That
Well,
would be the Mod Squad. And the Mod Squad really were, I mean, they were young people really fighting to make the world a better place. This is what Leia, or in the movie they don't call her Leia, they call her Leah. This is what Leah, Hans, and Luke are all about. So it's the same thing.
yeah,
It's
but
the
you
same
okay? So you were
premise.
going down to the nitty gritty, like comparing gender. I wasn't looking at that. I was just looking at like the
Right,
story arc,
right.
the character
But
dynamics.
it
Like,
is a story arch too, not just the gender, but the story arch of, here we have three young people that are plucked out to deal with the druggies and the drug dealers and all that stuff. And then here we have Leia, the princess, and Hans, who's like the bad boy, and Luke, who's the good boy in between, out here really fighting. Realize they're all three of them are for the same thing. Even though Hans is he's like, well, I just want the money. Chewie and I just need the money. And really the best character in the whole damn thing to me is Chewbacca, if you really want to know. But that's it.
yeah,
But I would be Leia. Leia would be who would represent me.
me
I
too.
would be that role. Right. I would
Me
be the
too.
Leia role. And Zoe
Me
did
too.
have a character who she would be too.
And who is that? Who's that?
C3PO. Because he just kind of never knows what's going on, actually, and he doesn't want to be involved. He has anxiety, I think. And that's me.
I had that for some reason. I had a funny feeling. I was like, I wonder who it would be. And then somewhere, I already knew that it would be Princess Leia, but somewhere I heard a voice that said, I'm C3PO. And I'm like, who are you? I must have
No, that
inherit
would
Zoe's
definitely be me.
tats.
That would definitely be me.
Yeah, because he's like, oh my God, he's like the Eeyore character. If we're going to do some analogies here,
Honestly. And I'm not
C3PO
gonna
is
lie.
like,
Well, I think, honestly suffer from like anticipatory grief. So I'm kind of always anticipating the worst
he's like,
and
the sky
am
is
mildly
falling.
or pleasantly surprised when it doesn't happen. That
Right.
is me. If I was a character in this universe, that's me.
So who would you say, okay, what's another character that you feel that you relate to, that like, okay, so let's say, one side of your personality you have a Princess Leia, right? Who would you say is a counterpart to that, or like another character that you relate to in Star Wars?
Um, well, I guess maybe Luke, but because of all the pivoting he has to do. Like
Yes.
literally, he just finds he's working, he lives with his aunt and uncle, and then he hears about this evil
Mm-hmm.
entity, and he has to pivot to trying to focus on that. And then they hijinks ensues with these two robots, and then his finds out his aunt and uncle died and has to pivot from that. I really don't even think he fully even processes that. Maybe, or like he
Exactly.
has to kind of get over it kind of fast and
Right.
then move on to the next thing, which is trying to help the rest of everyone. And so that could kind of be compared to like personally when my mom's mom, my grandma, like when she was really sick, and I at one point was working three jobs. So you have to
Yes.
pivot. I'm having to find all these different jobs, and this is like back in early 2020s. So we don't, like, the market is horrible now, but it was horrible then, and you could barely find jobs, and it's like the height of the pandemic. So this whole everything is happening. You have to pivot around that, around people being sick. The world is basically freaking on fire. And then pivot to grandma got sick. And so then she had to be, in the hospital, and then a
Mm-hmm.
hospice care, and then pivoting to that. Like I had three jobs and, was never home, and then
Yeah.
pivoting to when she finally did pass, and then more things or, accumulating more
Yes.
everything. So constantly having to just like literally keep going. Things just like kept happening and you just
Right.
have to keep going. That is another person I would compare it to. But I'm
I
definitely
can really,
more
I can absolutely
C3PO.
relate to that. Like when my mom was
Mhm.
taking care of my grandmother and stuff like that, I was sort of going shuffling back and forth and working full
Mhm.
time and planning a wedding and yada yada yada, and there was a lot going on. Um but I was gonna say Guru and Yoda. That would
Mhm.
be another part of my personality, I feel. And I think
Mm,
part of where that's coming up too is and reminding me of is because of all the my Instagram feeds where I'm getting all these memes and with the sarcasms of a guru and stuff like that and some wise words coming from Yoda, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like yeah, I totally can relate to that. Like yeah, I
mhm,
understand that. Why is that sarcasm like just so like it's just so relatable? I'm like, okay,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, the another character for me, of course, would have to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, that is, the wise person, the person who's here to advise and do. That would be my role.
mhm,
That's my role as an educator. So I would be Obi-Wan, but I'm definitely in the fight and the rebellion of Princess Leia, of course. And I am not a rule
mhm,
follower. So I'm definitely, I need, of course, the non-rule follower there would be Darth Vader. And I'm not on the dark side. So I can't choose Darth. I can't choose Darth, but I am Obi-Wan would definitely be another person that I would align myself to, so it would be that.
mhm.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think this is a great first episode, ladies.
Yes, me
Great.
too.
Yeah.
I really
Mhm.
think so. I really like the discussion. I was actually, I think what I was going to ask is, wait, well, we kind of already talked. Yeah, we already talked about that. Yep, yep, yep. Let me just double check. Yeah, like I mean, like overall, like we can see like how very relatable these you know,
Yes. Yeah.
arcs sort of
Mhm.
go and how relatable things are, and we put we when we get so caught up in these sort of rigid barriers of programming, we miss the connectivity, right?
Yes.
Amongst
Yes.
not only amongst these things but
Hmm.
also amongst ourselves, right, in our
Right.
communities and just amongst, right, like
Mhm.
even our own,
Yes.
families, the people that are close to
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
So it's when we can really unpack and have these sort of open, honest discussions. No, understanding that no, like we're not judging. This is a free and open and safe space
Mhm.
because right, we realize we have woken up to that higher dimension of knowing and understanding of our connectivity and who we are. So, you know, it's we have that openness. We've done that some of that deep healing work that needed to be done to
Hmm.
really let go of certain things, right? And to be open-minded and have that mindfulness and understanding of who we are as individuals, but also seeing the same and having the same understanding and respect for, you know, those that we interact with on a regular basis. And so,
Mhm.
that's where the spiritual void and why we're here at the spiritual void, you
Right.
know, to be when you've been abandoned and rejected and you don't feel like you can't see how you really fit in, you realize that you were never meant to because, right? And it's
Right.
as you do that and
Yeah.
you take that deep dive, then you start to you go into hermit mode, you do the introspection, you do what you have to do, you open yourself up and understand, you know, on a deeper level, really
Right.
who we are and how we're all connected. And and even our connection to nature, mother nature, to our planet, to everything as a whole. So, you know, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for my co-host
Yes.
for being a part of this and your input and just your thoughts, because like I said, like, and Zoe, you just come out of nowhere, like from the start with the may the fourth be with you to like the Ten Commandments to like Jesus, woo, you know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
We all have our talents, we all have our roles and our understanding in this greater, thing. And I want you to thank you so much, you know, deep from where all my piggies live, and then they roam around my entire body all the time, like just doing their own thing and leading me on weird rabbit holes and things. But I love you guys so much. You guys, I just, I found, like, I feel like I found my safe space where I can just talk and discuss without, judgment, and have that open and honest and
Yeah.
fun discussion. We don't, even though we have our different perspectives and things
Yes.
like that, and
Mhm.
we've lived different journeys,
Mm-hmm.
we still can come together in unity and understanding and in love and respect and just loving support. So I want to
Yes.
thank you guys so, so much. You know, as we're filming this, it's Easter Monday. But,
Yes.
when,
Yes.
of course, as we premiere it, and we will be right there with you all. In the words of
Yeah.
Zoe, and from long time ago, may the fourth be with us all. Thank you
Yes.
so
Yes.
much for joining us in this spiritual void today. Anything
Yes.
else you ladies want to say before we wrap up and close the door?
Check me out on my channel too at Tago. Taygeaux.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Next
And we'll
time
lead you and
into
open the
this.
Yes.
door so you can enter the spiritual void and join
Yes.
us from A to Z. Thank
Yes.
you. We love you. Bye.